breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is Robbie Rosenhaus, does a great job getting all of our clips and audio and getting us on the air. And actually, we're going to be on the air one day earlier this week because of the Christmas Day game against the Detroit Lions on Thursday. We're going to have our show run Wednesday. Is that right, Robbie?
Yes, that is correct.
We'll be live on Wednesday and streaming 24/7, as we know. And Vikings coming off their third straight win in the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium, cold and windy day in, I guess, New York, New Jersey, however you want to describe it, the Meadowlands. But the Vikings emerged with a win, but with question marks once again about their young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, and his health. And I'm going to start out with this thought, Robbie. Bud Grant, Hall of Fame coach, I was privileged to work with for a decade or so. And one of his favorite sayings was, for a successful coach, the coach needs a patient wife, a loyal dog, and a great quarterback, not necessarily in that order. Now, the other great saying he had, he'd throw in a fourth quarter pass rush occasionally, which he had with the Purple People Eaters. But what he'd also add is that a player can't achieve greatness without durability. And that stuck with me forever. Whenever I was signing free agents, I always wanted to know their injury history. And as we said, for J.J. McCarthy, as with all players, all quarterbacks, to achieve greatness, they have to have durability. Bud Grant had that with Fran Tarkenton. So far, Kevin O'Connell has not had that with J.J. McCarthy, and we'll see if that changes over time. But we know at this stage of his career, he's played 8.5 games. He's missed a boatload of games, a whole season, and 5.5 games this season, 6.5 games actually. And so we'll see how this latest injury, the right hand injury, plays out this week. The early report after the game that he left late in the second quarter when he couldn't grip the ball. The latest report yesterday was that the x-rays showed no break. But as we know, they'll do more testing, MRI or whatever, to see if there's a ligament issue, if there's something else going on. And the short week does not help J.J. McCarthy to rebound and get back in there by Thursday.
No, and he was playing decent football there. I mean, we'll hear some of the audio highlights from this game, but one of them that sticks out, again, we're going to hear is that touchdown run where he pulled it down. I think he's done a better job in recent weeks of knowing when to pull the ball down and run with it, as evident by a few rushing touchdowns. But inevitably, when you're turning into kind of a dual threat type of guy, you're going to get hurt. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson, and now we see J.J. McCarthy get hurt on kind of a fluke play with his hand. But again, it's you would know better than I would when it comes to kind of setting up certain free agent boards and draft boards and putting red dots on players. Coming out of college, though, like without an injury history, and then developing one in the NFL, how is that different than, let's say, a guy coming out of college, like a Marcus Lattimore, for example, who had all those ACL injuries at South Carolina, if you remember that running back many years ago?
Yeah, sure. And you think about Michael Penix Jr., for example, had a lot of injuries in his college career, and sure enough, he's down for the year this year, and Kirk Cousins has been playing the last several weeks. And McCarthy, coming in, did not really have that red dot, as you said, on him. But you worry about him at this stage of his career, whether he can indeed stay healthy. And maybe he overcomes this latest little snafu with the right hand. Maybe he plays on Thursday against Detroit and in the finale against the Packers. But one thing we know, once they were eliminated, the end of the season was really about McCarthy and his continued ascension, shall we say, as an NFL quarterback, his continued improvement, which he has shown the last 3 weeks, including in the game against the Giants. And you think about it, it's cold and windy at the stadium there in the Meadowlands, and he still completes 9 of 14 for 108, but he had 3 drops. Jefferson had a drop. Addison drops a touchdown pass. Naylor drops a pass that ends up being intercepted. So JJ's line, instead of 9 of 14 for 108 with 1 interception and a 58 rating, should have been 12 of 14 for 148, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and a passer rating in the 140 range. Now, that's the life of an NFL quarterback, and that happens late in the season often when it's a little harder to catch the ball. But he's got to get more help from those receivers. Fortunately, Justin Jefferson wound up having a great game and made a number of circus catches on the sideline and a couple of great first down pickups on screens. He played great, but Addison is turning into a bit of a mystery this year for such a talented player. He's got 8 drop balls, second most in the or third most in the NFL. And that can't happen, especially for a guy who is a potential extension candidate after this year. And I'm sure they're going to make him wait at least one more year. Naylor has only had a drop or 2 this year. He's been more reliable. He was great, we know, in the Dallas game. And he's a guy who also is a free agent after this season. They got to make a decision on him. So it's going to be really interesting. But JJ could use some more help. And he's also playing behind a banged up offensive line. And then you add to that equation on Sunday, then Ryan Kelly goes down, his center, with his 3rd concussion this season, which you don't want to speculate, but it could be the end of his career at this point when a player has that many concussions, which several more he had in Indianapolis. And so all of a sudden, center, a big concern. Michael Juergens played okay. He got beat really bad by Abdul Carter on a sack, but he also, on the game sealing run by Aaron Jones, he handled Dexter Lawrence, which was really surprising that they were able to pick up that first down. So a lot of things at play this week and a lot of attention on the quarterback situation. The good news was Max Brosmer, when he came in, he wasn't asked to do a lot, basically a run heavy attack, because the defense was playing great on Sunday. Had a fantastic game. They hold Jackson Dart to 33 passing yards, 13 net yards, including the 5 sacks for 20 yards. And they hold the Giants to 141 total yards in the game. Vikings defense now is ranked 5th in the NFL. So you can't really say, other than the lack of takeaways, that they've been the issue this year. It's been more the inconsistency at the quarterback position and the offense. Vikings are 7-8 now with 3 straight wins. A little, too late, unfortunately, for the playoff race. But hey, Robbie, they're not alone this year. You look around the NFL, the Chiefs are out. The Ravens are close to being out. The Lions come in here this week. They're 8-7 after getting beat by Pittsburgh on a crazy play at the end of that game. Offensive pass interference on St. Brown ends the game for Detroit and probably ends their playoff hopes. They're 8-7. And Washington, another team, having a dismal year, and they were a Final Four team last year. So the Vikings are not alone, but doesn't really give them comfort because they know a couple more wins would have got them to the playoffs, and then anything can happen. But let's go into some of our highlights and
Sure.
kind of talk through what happened on Sunday and look ahead to the Detroit game, look around the NFL. Really, some wild, crazy games in Week 15. But for the Vikings, it was kind of a back and forth field goal game in the first half early on. And then Jackson Dart threw a pass intended for Theo Johnson, intercepted by Byron Murphy, his first pick of the year after 6 last year in a Pro Bowl season. And that kind of opened the door for the Vikings to jump ahead in this game.
When he throws that football. Off the hands of Johnson and picked off. It deflected away from Theo Johnson, and Byron Murphy comes up with the interception, his first of the season.
And that is Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma on Fox. 2:09 left in the second quarter. After that pick leads to this touchdown run by J.J. McCarthy.
McCarthy on third down. Looking, can't find anyone. Inside the 5, hurdles into the end zone for a Vikings touchdown.
And there was a great block on that play by Aaron Jones, who had just a terrific gutsy performance on Sunday. 85 rushing yards, fighting through an ankle injury after Jordan Mason sprained his ankle early in the game and left. Aaron Jones, leader, gutsy player, had a really important role in the game on Sunday. So the Vikings at that point, up 13-3, looking pretty good, thinking, oh, the defense is shutting them down. And the Vikings can cruise this game. And then disaster struck, Robbie.
Damn. For Burns, knocks the ball free, and the Giants are going to score on defense. Tyler Newman takes it in for a touchdown following the sack of a forced fumble by Burns.
I know at that point you're thinking like, whoa, how could that possibly happen?
I actually didn't order lunch yet, so I wasn't able to throw up my lunch because I had breakfast about 2 hours prior to that. I was actually sitting at the bar with bread in my jar. That's a Billy Joel lyric. But I was actually sitting at the bar and saying to myself, just run the ball a couple times. I know they probably needed about 25 yards to get Will Reichert a chance at a field goal there, but you're up 10. You have a quarterback playing well against a defense that's going to be looking to just unleash a pass rush here to make a big play. And what happens? Unblocked, and McCarthy gets hurt and goes down, and it was a disaster. So you know as well as I do, in the Meadowlands, it is very, very difficult with those swirling winds to kick 50-plus yard field goals. So I said to myself, they should just run the ball here a couple of times, especially with how good they were running it, and maybe break one. But they end up giving up the touchdown there and leading to a more competitive second half, Jeff, than we should have had.
Yeah, definitely true. And I think that the mistake on that drive, it's almost as if Kevin O'Connell couldn't figure out what he wanted to do, whether he wanted to go for it or not, because they get the ball back with whatever 50-some seconds left. And then they run the ball at first. And you're thinking, okay, they're going to kind of run out the clock, which maybe they should try to make some hay here and get another field goal at least. But then they run like 25 seconds off the clock and then throw that screen from McCarthy to Jefferson, where McCarthy can't grip the ball at that point, and that's why he held the ball. He knows, and Kevin O'Connell talked about this after the game. McCarthy knows on that play that the unblocked defensive end is coming at him. Got to get rid of the ball on the screen or throw it away. And he holds the ball because he can't get a grip on it. Just a crazy, crazy play and disaster, as we said. So at that point, Vikings go in up 13-10 at the half. The second half, Max Brosmer takes over. And here was probably his best play as a pro, obviously, after his disaster start in Seattle. And it's 9:44 left in the game. It's a tie game at this point. And Brosmer, 3rd and 17, hits Justin Jefferson, makes a circus catch on the sideline on a great throw by Brosmer.
Regular season against the Giants. Brosmer on 3rd down. Jefferson diving catch along the sideline.
Did that remind you of a certain number 80 toe tapping there on the sideline, Jeff?
It sure does. When he does that, absolutely. Although I never saw Chris Carter drop a ball, and Justin's had a few drops this year.
I actually
So,
saw Chris. I saw Chris drop a ball to try and win a game as a member of the Miami Dolphins. He came back to play the Vikings in, I believe, 2003, and he was wide open in the end zone. I remember, to beat his former team, and hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it. And the Vikings go down the field, and 9,000-year-old Morton Anderson comes off the bench to kick the game-winning field goal. Unbelievable memories in a bad year for the Minnesota Vikings.
yeah,
Actually, it was 2002, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
Not
he never dropped a ball when he played for the Vikings. I'll tell you that. As far as I ever saw,
as far as you saw.
at least while
Yeah.
I was there before I went to Tennessee.
And that drop helped the Vikings. So there
Yeah.
you go.
And so second half, late in the game, now Vikings up 3. That completion setup, Will Reichard's fourth made kick of the day in that tough stadium. The guy's having a Pro Bowl season, all pro season. I don't know if he's going to get it necessarily, but he deserves it. And just great kicking in tough conditions. So the Giants have the ball at the Vikings 47, 4th and 3 in the game. Vikings defense, as I mentioned, had a great day, especially on 2 of 10 on third downs, 1 of 3 on fourth downs. And here was one of the fourth down misses when Andrew Van Ginkel sacks Jackson Dart.
There's Dart on fourth down, looking. Van Ginkel wraps him up, throws him down.
And that really pretty much sealed the game, especially when the Vikings were able to get a drive together. Jackson Dart came to the game with a 92 passer rating, having a really good rookie season. This was by far his worst game of his young career in 10 starts. His passer rating came in around whatever I want to say.
No, it came in at a good rate.
27.4.
But you have to understand something, Jeff. Like I think they try to put him in bubble wrap. Look at what Flores and the defense brought. Look at all the stats you just gave in the first half of the show about how good they are, top 5, and all this pressure and stuff. He's had concussion issues. So I think by him only throwing the ball, what was it, 5 times in the first half or something like that?
Yeah.
So I think they wanted to protect him. 13 for the game, 5 for the first half. I think they wanted to kind of treat him with kid gloves and protect him for the future, because they know this season isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, definitely true. And he only had two rushes in the game for a guy that's got 400 yards running this year. And as you said, it was really vintage Brian Flores against rookie quarterbacks, where he's had so much success confusing them, rattling them. And that was the case for Jackson Dart on Sunday. Clearly a win for the Vikings D in that game. And the game sealer, as I mentioned, on the ensuing drive, it's 3rd and 8, and the Vikings 149 left, and they're at the Giant 37. You're thinking, okay, going to pick up a yard or two, and Ryan Wright will try to punt him down deep and force him to drive the field. Not much surprises me, but Aaron Jones picking up 9 yards on the ground on 3rd and 8 when the Giants know he's going to run the ball. That was a surprise. And there was great blocking on the play. I mentioned Juergens, Will Fries, and Donovan Jackson inside, and Brian O'Neill, who also toughed it out in that game, fighting off the heel injury. Here was that big play that ended the game.
You can see the Giants managing to get all the way down the field.
There's Jones, first down.
Ball game.
That will do it. The exclamation point.
So where do you see Aaron Jones next year, Jeff? Like, do you
I think I see him right. I see him right here because the guy could still play for sure.
So on 1 year deals, huh? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So let's hear from our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. GMC trucks weren't built overnight like every American achievement. They are a result of dedication, a dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering, to building upon prior knowledge year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 crew cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $4,692. See your Select Minnesota GMC dealers. Only on 5.3-liter V8 engine for purchase allowance. Length of contract limited, must finance with GM Financial. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/26. Kevin O'Connell, happy after the game about the team's third straight win. And I always love these locker room speeches. Even if you're eliminated from the playoffs, they're still excited to win the game. And O'Connell giving out some game balls and talking about the team.
All right, we lost JP early. This guy had to just go in there, and it was a pounded, ground and pound kind of game there. All right, whatever it was going to take to support our defense to win that game is what we were going to do in that second half. You couldn't be more of an example of what it means to be a great player, but unbelievable leader. I love you to death, Aaron Jones. Speaking of leadership, this guy's displayed it week in and week out at a world-class level, just like he is a world-class receiver in this league. All right, best in the world at what he does. All he does is work. All he's done this year is lead. Set a standard so high, we are all going to be following it as we chase what's out in front of us. But Justin Jefferson was 6 for 85 today, now has more catches than any player in NFL history through his first 6 seasons. Unbelievable. An easy one. All right, I can go guy by guy. I can say to you guys that Murph had 2 tackles, an interception, and a pass defense. All right, I can talk about some other guys. I can talk about each individual one of the 5 sacks. But this feels like, to me, a team defensive game ball. All you guys get one. Unbelievable.
Gotta love it when you get a win in the NFL. They're not easy to come by. The Vikings now have 7, but unfortunately 8 losses this season. Get ready to take on the Detroit Lions. They'll try to sweep the Lions, who they beat 27-24 in Week 9 in Detroit. I think it's going to be a really interesting game, and we're going to talk more about it on our Wednesday show. What kind of Lions team are we going to see coming in? Are they dejected because they're basically out of the playoffs after having such a great season as a top seed last year? Or are they angry because of the way that Pittsburgh game ended, losing on an offensive pass interference call, and just the way their season has gone? So I suspect we'll see the angry version of Dan Campbell's team, and they'll come in here ready to play. But it's still a disadvantage to play on a short week, Christmas week, a lot going on. That's a tough thing. It's kind of retribution for teams against the Lions, who always benefit from that Thanksgiving Day game on Thursday in Detroit. But anyway, O'Connell also, after the game, talking about McCarthy's latest injury.
Yeah, part of you wants to just make sure it's part of this game, and he's a competitor, and I think it's something where he's going to go out there and lay it on the line every single week. And like I said, I don't know, at what point the injury actually happened, and I don't even know if he does. And when I talk to him, we'll try to pinpoint that down. But it is unfortunate just thinking about what these last 3 weeks and really 2.5 weeks or so outside of that last play of the half there. I mean, he's looked like he's really found a place of decisiveness, ownership of the offense. I mean, the discussion and the dialogue about things he's seeing. So yeah, it's a bummer just because I'm having a blast coaching him and seeing the growth of a young player getting the opportunity to actually go out there and grow and develop. And I've been so proud of the way he's come, really these last few weeks come back and just really shown some growth. So you'd love to have him. Love to have him for 2 straight home games to finish, and we'll see where his hand's at and if he has the ability to play for us again. I sure hope so.
Justin Jefferson, as I mentioned, had a really impressive game after the early drop and making a number of big plays, including that 3rd and 17 conversion that set up the winning field goal. And he talked about the fight of the team, the McCarthy injury, and Brosmer's a great play stepping up.
It needs to happen. So I'm just glad that this whole entire team is continue to stay with it, continue to fight to the end of the season, because we don't lay our head down and we definitely don't give up. So I appreciate the guys for sure.
Just, I don't know if you were asked about JJ, but just for him to have to leave the game at halftime there, how tough was that? Just given how he's played the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, tough. He's definitely our leader of our team. He's the quarterback, so that's definitely a valuable position to miss out on. So, but we always have confidence in Max to go in there and do what we expect him to do. Of course, surrounding himself with the weapons that we have on our offense to go and lead us to where we need to go. So it's tough. It's part of the game, but it's all about next man up and finishing the job.
What did you think of that Max throw on 3rd and 17?
Perfect ball. Yeah, perfect ball, perfect spot. We don't really work that play, that throw too often in practice. Of course, JJ is the one throwing it in practice, but for him to throw that type of ball in that type of situation on 3rd down to continue to drive, very, very big, huge throw.
Yeah, you got to admire Justin Jefferson's gutting it out this year through the quarterback problems, through the inconsistency, and his arguably lowest production year of his career for a season. He's played every game. He's over 900 yards now. 2 more games. He'll hopefully get to that 1,000-yard mark as he's done every year in his career. But he has shown, as the coach said, great leadership. Defensively, we know one of the big leaders, Harrison Smith, he talked after the game about the defense making plays.
It's big when everybody's making plays. It adds a lot of juice. It's just like you said, it kind of ignites things. So yeah, that's what we're looking to do.
Let's hear again from our great sponsor, and then we're going to come back and hear from Byron Murphy and go quickly around the NFL, talk about a big weekend of games that happened, some solidifying of some positions in the playoff run. But here's our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
GMC trucks weren't built overnight. Like every American achievement, they are a result of dedication. A dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering. To building upon prior knowledge, year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 Crew Cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $46.92. See your Select Minnesota GMC dealers. Only on 5.3-liter V8 engine for purchase allowance. Length of contract limited. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/26.
A couple other things in the game. Too many penalties still. The Vikings had 11 penalties. Giants smashed them with 11 penalties. Kind of made it a little bit of a bumpy ride for both teams in the game. Byron Murphy, as I mentioned, had his first interception of the year after having 6 last year. And he talks about they're having fun out there.
Yesterday, we had to, go back to Minnesota and all that stuff. So we just all took that in and then just came out here and played together.
33 yards. I mean, where does that even start for you guys in the secondary?
Man, we obviously knew they had their guy 17. He's been one of the most targeted guys on this team. So once I lined up with him in my mind, I'm like, the ball's coming. So I was just trying to take away him the whole game. And then obviously Zay on the other side, our safeties were showing a great job. Obviously not letting guys get the ball down the field. And like I said, the defense played together today.
So Byron Murphy, Harrison Smith, that whole defense. Jonathan Allen had maybe his best game as a Viking, 8 tackles, a sack, a couple tackles for loss, very disruptive inside, and a big day for the Vikings defense despite missing a couple starters in Jonathan Grenard and Josh Metellus. The Vikings will have a different animal in terms of offensive production with the Lions coming in, the number 3 offense in the league. But the Lions come off a game again where they were shut down in the running game, and that was a big part of their loss to the Steelers. The Vikings also shut them down in that Week 9 win, held them to 65 yards rushing. So that'll be the formula. They need to be able to stop the run, put the pressure on Jared Goff, as they did last time against Detroit, had a bunch of sacks. I think it's going to be a very exciting game. We're going to talk more about that on our next show. But around the NFL, it was a crazy weekend, Robbie, and kind of starting with the Seahawks with that wild come from behind win over the Rams when they were down 16 and came back to win that game, take control of the NFC West. And you think about Sam Darnold in that game, threw a couple picks early, was having a really ugly game, and all of a sudden he turned it on. Some great throws down the stretch, including some 2-point conversions, got them to overtime, and then threw the winning touchdown, and also had the 2-point conversion pass. So Sam Darnold, happy for him that he was able to rebound in that game and beat his nemesis team, the Rams, as we all know from last season. And the Seahawks, right now, the number 1 seed. The Bears, how do you explain that comeback against Green Bay? Phenomenal at the end. They scored a touchdown. Caleb Williams, a 4th down pass to a guy who hadn't caught a pass all year. Then they recover the onside kick when Romeo Doubs can't field the ball, go down and win the game. I mean, it just really a remarkable team this year. Kind of reminded us of the Vikings last year with a lot of takeaways and winning games. And Caleb Williams has made a step in his second year, and I think he made a big step in that game too.
No, without a doubt. And you look at how thin the margins are, Jeff, in the league with Caleb Williams and the Vikings this year. You look at both games, and they could have went either way. And you look where the Vikings are on the outside, permanently looking in, and the Bears are firmly in the playoff mix. So we're gonna see the Bears in January, even though the Vikings should have swept them this year, and may end up sweeping the Lions of all teams. So again, doing decently in the division doesn't always guarantee success, especially when you lose 2 consecutive home games to the Ravens and the Eagles.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can sweep the Lions. They got to play them this Thursday, and the Bears and Lions will meet in the finale. So we'll see other big games around the league. Jacksonville goes into Denver, gets a win. The Jaguars, kind of quietly, a force in the AFC, and Carolina takes control of the NFC South by beating the Bucs. We're going to break it all down. Vikings and Lions preview on Wednesday night, and also talk about some big games in Week 17 around the NFL. And this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN. Available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. This is Jeff Diamond with Robbie Rosenhaus, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.